I actually had already recorded audio of a review of X-Men Apocalypse with my wife, but after I recorded the audio and I was listening to it, I realized there were a few things that I didn't bring up that I wanted to talk about. So I figured I would do a shorter one just to get a quick one out there with a few things that I had missed, and then have the longer one come out a little bit later. X-Men Apocalypse is the long-awaited new title in the X-Men movies. That's encompassing also the Wolverine movies. And the only one I really didn't like was X-Men Origins. I thought that was just awful, but there's a big long story of that, how it was rushed into production, and they started working on it while the writer's strike was going on, so there wasn't a script. So kind of like how Transformers 2 is so disjointed, that's how Wolverine X-Men Origins was. But I like all the rest of the X-Men movies. Even X-Men The Last Stand. It's got a lot of problems, but I think that it was a cool movie. I thought that it was entertaining. They rushed the Dark Phoenix storyline, but still, I enjoyed it. It's not bad, it's just not as good as the other ones. X-Men Apocalypse, I absolutely loved. I really enjoyed this. So I was kind of surprised at how it's divided people. Like, I can understand why Batman versus Superman was so divisive, how people really either loved it or hated it. I was kind of expecting that going in. But this had such a strong lead-in. I mean, people loved First Class, they loved Days of Future Past, and this one, again, being directed by Bryan Singer, I thought this was going to be a no-brainer. I thought people were going to just love it as much as the other ones. I was shocked to see how many critics were bad-mouthing the movie, and then went on the forums, and there were people, kind of like Batman versus Superman, there's some people defending it, and some people saying it's the worst pile of garbage they ever saw, and the old, give it to Disney, they know what they're doing! And no, Marvel made a business decision, they sold it to Fox, and Fox has been doing a good job with it thus far. So fine, I understand, they've been kind of fumbling with the Fantastic Four movies, but in general, they've done very well with the X-Men movies. And I think Apocalypse is no exception. In X-Men Apocalypse, I thought the cast was great. Except for Jennifer Lawrence, I felt like her performance was just kind of there. I might be biased because there's been all these things where she's talking about how much she wants to get out of the X-Men movies and she wants to move beyond them. So maybe that kind of painted my vision of her playing the character. But in the time when she was on screen, it just felt like she didn't care. Comparing that to how she played it in Days of Future Past, and even in First Class, I thought that she gave it more oomph. And in this, where she's supposed to be portraying an up-and-coming leader, it just felt like she didn't want to be there. So anyway, the short review, X-Men Apocalypse, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I completely am baffled by the people who don't like it. If you liked First Class and you liked Days of Future Past, I think that there should be no reason why you shouldn't go see this. So now I'm going to get into some spoilers, a few things that I forgot to talk about in the other video. While watching the movie, I was reminded of the trailer, and I got very angry. For two reasons. Number one, because there was the Weapon X scene that they showed at the end of the most recent trailer that they absolutely did not need to show. That would have been such a surprise to have Wolverine pop up because it's like an hour and a half into the movie and they haven't even hinted at Wolverine. And then they're in Stryker's military base and they find Weapon X. That would have been so great to just completely come out of nowhere and not know. But in the most recent trailer, they had to show Wolverine. And so when it happened, it still was cool. It still was one of my favorite parts of the movie, but it was no longer a surprise. And that surprise was completely ruined. My other gripe, the Professor X sitting there bald, was the last shot of the movie. So they showed the ending of the movie in the trailer. Stop! Okay, on to good things. Jean Grey unleashed her powers, and they did a fantastic rendition of Phoenix. They had her standing in midair, and just this giant flaming Phoenix around her. It was awesome. It gave me, like, the chicken skins. I was so excited. That was great. So for future movies, they did say that there's a possibility they might do the Dark Phoenix saga, but they're going to do it right this time. Because in X-Men The Last Stand, the whole Dark Phoenix thing was maybe 15 minutes long. And it's one of the most well-known comic book story arcs out there, and it was just so compacted. It was almost a throwaway thing. Seeing something like Dark Phoenix, I figured that this was probably one of the only chances this was ever going to happen. So even though it was short, I was kind of happy that it happened at all. However, now things have changed, and we're getting comic book movies left and right, and the possibility of them doing maybe another trilogy, doing a whole Dark Phoenix storyline, would be fantastic, would be amazing. So that's really exciting. The possibility that they'll do that is good enough for me right now. The stinger at the end of the movie was some men in black taking samples from Weapon X and putting them into a briefcase etched Essex Corp. There were a lot of people in the theater who sat there and went, "What's Essex Corp?" And so me and a few other people were laughing. And then somebody was nice enough to shout out, "Mr. Sinister." And then the follow-up to that was, "Who?" So I'm really excited about Mr. Sinister. He's one of my favorite X-Men villains. The other thing is, that means that there's a possibility that they're going to bring in X-23. X-23 is the female clone of Wolverine. I think there's a lot of possibilities and cool shit that they could do with her. And if Hugh Jackman isn't coming back, this is a way to have essentially a female Wolverine. And the thing is, she's not a gender swap. She's not replacing Wolverine. Wolverine still exists. She is her own character with her own backstory and her own motivations and whatnot. So it's not just a lazy gender swap. She's a character that's been around for over a decade now. But what I'm most excited for, and this also factors in with Mr. Sinister, there was mention that the next X-Men movie was going to take place in space. That means that we could be seeing the Brood. Oh my god, do I want to see the Brood. The Brood were shameless ripoffs of alien xenomorphs, but I've always liked them. Having a mixture of the X-Men and Alien and Starship Troopers kind of all blended into one. And again, they could set that up to be the next trilogy for all we know. So right now, I'm super excited because the next X-Men movie could go in so many different directions, and each direction it could go, I'm looking forward to. So I'm wrapping up the stuff that I forgot to talk about in the other video. If you want to hear that one, I should hopefully have it up later today.